single traffic stop, a blinking light in your mirror, and suddenly, everything you thought you knew about driving is outdated. As 2026 began, 10 major driving laws quietly changed. No headlines, no warnings, just enforcement. Most drivers are still following last year's rules, completely unaware they're now risking fines, points, or worse. One of these changes, number 4, is catching people off guard nationwide and costing them hundreds of dollars. They're rules every driver is expected to follow starting right now. Stay with me, because knowing these laws could save your license, your money, and a serious legal headache. The 2026 traffic enforcement updates mark a clear shift toward standardized, technology-driven regulation that leaves far less room for interpretation or informal tolerance. These changes are structured to eliminate ambiguity, tighten compliance, and align enforcement practices across jurisdictions, placing greater responsibility on drivers to understand and adapt to precise legal definitions. A central change is the adoption of a unified enforcement standard for handheld mobile device use. Under this rule, any instance of a driver physically holding a phone while the vehicle is operational is classified as a primary violation. The vehicle does not need to be traveling at speed, being stopped at a traffic light, paused in congestion, or creeping forward in traffic still qualifies as active operation. Enforcement is no longer based on whether the driver appears distracted. The act itself, engine on and device in hand, is sufficient. Penalties are structured to escalate quickly, combining increasing fines with automatic license points, which can trigger insurance surcharges and administrative consequences. Hands-free use remains permitted only when devices are mounted or integrated into the vehicle's system, reinforcing a strict separation between manual interaction and driving. Traffic stop procedures have also evolved through new requirements for digital proof of insurance. In several states, drivers are now expected to present insurance documentation in an electronically accessible format. While physical insurance cards may still be accepted in some jurisdictions, paper-only proof may not meet compliance standards where digital verification is required. Inability to produce a valid electronic record during a stop can result in immediate citation, even if coverage exists. This change reflects broader reliance on real-time data access and automated verification systems, reducing administrative delays while increasing the burden on drivers to ensure their records are current, functional, and accessible at all times. Highway lane usage rules have been further refined to address congestion and merging safety. On multi-lane highways, the rightmost lane is increasingly designated for vehicles entering or exiting the roadway during specific enforcement periods, typically aligned with peak traffic hours. Remaining in this lane without an imminent exit or merge-related purpose is classified as improper lane use. Enforcement is conducted through direct patrol observation and fixed roadway camera systems, capable of identifying sustained occupancy inconsistent with the lane's designated function. Drivers are now expected to actively manage lane positioning based on traffic conditions, time-based restrictions, and roadway design, rather than default cruising habits. Under the new emergency vehicle clearance regulation, drivers are required to come to a complete stop and remain stationary until the emergency vehicle has passed and cleared a legally defined buffer zone ahead. The law explicitly prohibits resuming motion prematurely, even by a few seconds, as any early movement is now classified as interference with emergency operations. This buffer zone is often defined in feet or by vehicle lengths to create a measurable, enforceable standard. Violation of this rule carries substantial penalties, including significant fines and potential points on a driver's license, reflecting the critical safety risks associated with obstructing fire trucks, ambulances, or law enforcement vehicles. Law enforcement agencies are actively monitoring compliance through patrol units, dash cams, and traffic cameras, and violations are being treated with heightened seriousness due to the high incidence of secondary collisions caused by early or improper movement near emergency vehicles. Speed camera enforcement has also been revised to include strict procedural requirements. Citations issued by automated speed detection systems are now contingent on the presence of clearly visible advance notification signage. These signs must meet established minimum distance requirements and remain unobstructed from driver view, ensuring that motorists are adequately warned before entering a monitored zone. If municipalities fail to meet these signage standards, tickets issued by speed cameras are considered invalid and subject to dismissal in court. This procedural safeguard has prompted widespread reviews of camera placement and signage compliance across jurisdictions, reducing instances of punitive or arbitrary enforcement. Drivers are encouraged to document signage conditions, including potential obstructions, to contest tickets effectively and ensure procedural fairness. These changes illustrate a broader shift toward precision, accountability, and evidence-based enforcement in traffic law. By establishing quantifiable standards for stopping near emergency vehicles and verifying automated speed enforcement procedures, regulators aim to balance safety, fairness, and predictability, while placing clear responsibility on both drivers and municipal authorities. In 2026, school zone enforcement has been significantly expanded beyond traditional bell schedules. Early morning programs, after-school activities, and extended care periods are now included, requiring drivers to maintain reduced speeds throughout a broader time frame. Violations during these periods carry doubled fines and mandatory license points, reflecting the elevated focus on child safety and the high risk of accidents outside standard hours. Automated enforcement tools, along with active patrol monitoring, ensure compliance, making vigilance near school zones essential at all times. Electric vehicle charging regulations have also tightened. Parking in a charging stall after a vehicle reaches full charge is now a violation, even if the car remains plugged in. Enforcement relies on networked charging stations and municipal databases that track occupancy and charging status in real time. Penalties vary by jurisdiction, but are strictly applied, emphasizing efficient use of EV infrastructure. Drivers are encouraged to use app notifications or vehicle alerts to move their vehicles promptly, ensuring both compliance and availability for other users. Cannabis-related DUI laws have been redefined, with fixed THC blood concentration limits. Exceeding these thresholds constitutes a per se violation, independent of observed impairment. Chemical test results alone can establish probable cause, creating new legal standards for prosecution. THC's extended presence in the bloodstream requires defense strategies to focus on precise timelines, expert analysis, and evidence demonstrating the absence of impairment while driving. These updates reflect a broader shift toward objective, quantifiable enforcement measures that minimize ambiguity in high-risk driving situations. The regulations for drivers under 18 have been tightened to address high-risk factors associated with nighttime driving and passenger-related distractions. Regardless of full license status, teen drivers are now subject to mandatory curfew restrictions, typically enforced during late evening to early morning hours. These rules are designed to reduce accidents during periods of limited visibility and increased fatigue. Violations carry fines and points on the driver's record, and repeated offenses can lead to license suspension. Guardians are legally responsible for ensuring compliance, reinforcing the expectation that parents actively supervise their teens' driving activity. Passenger restrictions have also been extended, limiting non-family passengers for a longer period after licensure than before. This targets documented increases in accidents involving teen drivers with multiple peers in the vehicle, especially during nighttime hours. Violations are classified as safety offenses rather than administrative infractions, emphasizing the real-world risk posed to the driver and others on the road. Enforcement relies on a combination of patrol observation, traffic stops, and digital reporting tools, allowing authorities to apply the rules consistently and objectively. These expanded nighttime and passenger regulations create a structured framework to reduce preventable incidents among young drivers. The rules require precise adherence, situational awareness, and active supervision. By codifying both the driver's responsibilities and parental accountability, the law establishes clear, measurable safeguards while allowing for evidence-based enforcement. The integration of fines, license points, and potential suspension ensures that high-risk behaviors are addressed proactively rather than reactively, creating a system that prioritizes safety and compliance without ambiguity. In 2026, traffic law has evolved to provide drivers with explicit rights and responsibilities concerning both personal recording devices and autonomous vehicle operations, reflecting broader trends in technology integration and evidence-based enforcement. One significant update clarifies the legal status of dashcams and other recording devices during traffic stops. Drivers are now explicitly permitted to record interactions with law enforcement for personal legal defense, allowing them to document the sequence of events, statements, and actions taken during the stop. This provides a concrete evidentiary tool that can be used to verify compliance, challenge improperly issued citations, or support legal claims. However, the redistribution of recorded material is strictly regulated under privacy statutes. Posting footage on public platforms or sharing identifiable information without consent exposes drivers to civil liability, including potential lawsuits for violations of privacy laws. Compliance with these rules requires careful handling of recordings, ensuring that sensitive information, such as faces, license plates, and personal identifiers, is obscured if material is shared beyond the immediate legal context. The autonomous vehicle regulations have introduced precise liability frameworks tied to system engagement. When a vehicle operates in full self-driving mode and system logs confirm that no human intervention occurred, fault in the event of an accident shifts from the occupant to the manufacturer of the autonomous system. This approach establishes a clear, data-driven basis for assigning responsibility, emphasizing the role of software performance, sensor data, and automated decision-making in modern vehicles. However, any partial human input, such as manual steering, overriding automated alerts, or failure to respond to warnings, immediately restores driver liability, regardless of the system's previous autonomous operation. This rule reinforces the expectation that human occupants remain attentive and capable of intervening when necessary, even in vehicles equipped with advanced self-driving technology. These updates reflect a broader trend toward accountability in technologically complex driving environments. Both recording rights and autonomous vehicle liability rely on objective, verifiable evidence, digital logs, time-stamped footage, and telemetry data to resolve disputes and enforce compliance. Drivers must be technically literate, understanding how to operate recording devices within legal boundaries and how autonomous systems function to mitigate risk. Law enforcement agencies are increasingly trained to interpret these forms of evidence, while courts are adjusting standards to weigh digital and automated data alongside traditional testimony. These changes create a structured framework where legal outcomes are grounded in measurable, verifiable information, emphasizing both driver responsibility and the importance of proper technology management on the road. Move-over laws have been significantly expanded in 2026 to encompass a wider range of roadside personnel and emergency situations. Beyond traditional emergency vehicles such as police, fire, and ambulance units, drivers are now legally required to exercise caution around disabled vehicles, utility crews, and roadside assistance operators. This includes actively changing lanes away from these vehicles when possible, or, if lane changes are unsafe, reducing speed to a level that minimizes risk. Failure to comply is no longer treated as a minor infraction. It is classified as reckless endangerment. Penalties can include substantial fines, points on the driver's license, and, in severe cases, criminal liability if the violation contributes to an accident or injury. Law enforcement agencies are increasingly using traffic cameras, patrol observation, and real-time monitoring to identify violations, emphasizing the technical requirement for drivers to adjust position and speed proactively whenever they approach stationary vehicles or roadside personnel. The legal expectations for vehicle maintenance have evolved to include digital and software responsibilities. Drivers are now explicitly accountable for keeping critical vehicle systems up to date, including firmware, safety modules, and any manufacturer-released software updates that affect operational safety. Ignoring recommended updates or active safety recalls can significantly increase liability in the event of a collision, particularly if a malfunction or software defect is determined to have contributed to the incident. This accountability extends to both traditional systems, such as braking and steering controls, and modern driver assistance features, including automated emergency braking, lane keeping assist, and adaptive cruise control. Courts increasingly consider whether a driver neglected updates as part of negligence or contributory liability assessments, effectively merging software compliance with standard vehicular responsibility. The intersection of expanded move-over obligations and software accountability reflects a broader shift toward evidence-based enforcement and technology-aware driving standards. Drivers are expected to actively manage situational awareness, identifying roadside hazards, adjusting lanes and speed, and anticipating the movements of personnel and other vehicles, while simultaneously ensuring that their vehicles operate with current safety protocols. Failure in either domain, behavioral compliance or technical upkeep, can compound liability and elevate the severity of penalties. These regulatory updates require a proactive, informed approach to driving that integrates situational judgment, legal awareness, and technical literacy. Enforcement is data-driven, increasingly relying on visual, telemetry, and software evidence to assess compliance with lane change mandates and operational safety responsibilities. The legal framework emphasizes measurable actions and verifiable maintenance, creating a comprehensive environment in which drivers must actively mitigate risk, both through responsible road behavior and diligent vehicle management. Traffic enforcement is undergoing a fundamental transformation through the integration of advanced data collection and automated monitoring systems. Law enforcement agencies now routinely leverage a combination of high-resolution camera networks, roadside sensors, and detailed vehicle telemetry to document and verify potential violations. Cameras capture continuous visual evidence of lane usage, speed, and proximity to hazards, while sensors track movement patterns, vehicle spacing, and compliance with lane change or curfew regulations. Vehicle telemetry provides precise, time-stamped data from onboard systems, including speed, braking events, acceleration, and steering inputs, enabling authorities to reconstruct driving behavior with exceptional accuracy. The combination of these technologies allows violations to be identified retrospectively, based on objective data, rather than solely relying on real-time observation or officer discretion. This shift toward automated, evidence-based enforcement reduces the reliance on discretionary warnings and subjective interpretation. Traffic stops are increasingly initiated or supplemented by corroborated data rather than visual estimation alone, ensuring that enforcement decisions are consistent and defensible in legal proceedings. Infractions can now be substantiated with quantifiable evidence, from the exact location and speed of the vehicle to precise timing of lane changes and compliance with move-over or school zone regulations. The integration of telemetry and sensor data allows investigators to confirm whether safety-critical actions, such as yielding to emergency vehicles or maintaining safe distances, were executed properly. Beyond capturing violations, these systems also facilitate the verification of driver accountability for vehicle-related compliance, including software updates, safety recalls, and operational alerts from advanced driver assistance systems. By cross-referencing telemetry records with manufacturer notifications, authorities can establish whether a driver neglected critical updates that may have contributed to unsafe operation or incident risk. This data-driven approach transforms enforcement into a technical evaluation of both human behavior and machine performance, merging traditional traffic law with the operational realities of modern vehicles. The evolution toward automated, retrospective enforcement creates a structured, measurable framework that emphasizes objectivity and accuracy. By relying on verifiable evidence, authorities can reduce inconsistencies in traffic citations and improve overall road safety, while drivers are encouraged to maintain rigorous compliance with both operational and technical standards. This paradigm shift signals a future in which driving behavior is continuously monitored, legally assessed, and enforced through a combination of digital observation, precise measurement, and integrated vehicle data, establishing a comprehensive and highly accountable system of roadway oversight. The streets are changing, and 2026 has rewritten the rules of the road. From emergency vehicle protocols to digital enforcement and autonomous vehicle liability, every mile demands awareness and precision. Cameras, sensors, and new traffic laws are silently tracking compliance, leaving no room for assumption. One misstep could cost hundreds in fines, points, or legal consequences. Stay alert, stay updated, and let every drive reflect both caution and control. The road ahead is evolving. Make sure you're driving with the rules in your favor.